decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! From Tyson. Batista with a drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it.
He's going to go deep. He's got Tony, and he's got it. Touchdown, Florida. Kadarius Toney.
Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning, episode 342. Back on the topic of the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers have expressed interest in Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. Obviously, the Niners, a totally broken team this past season, but seems like they're just a good quarterback away from a Super Bowl ring. Obviously, last season they were in the Super Bowl, but Jimmy G struggled. So I think this could be big for the Niners if they go through with it. But first, question of the day, who is your 49ers franchise leading rusher? Again, if you know the answer, comment below, and if you don't, stick around to the end of the video, and we will reveal it for you. But Jay, again, Kirk Cousins, solid tenure with the Vikings, but no really accomplishments. Vikings are looking at him. The Niners are looking at him. What do you think this means for both teams?
It's really interesting. I do think they should definitely pursue it, at least see what the price is for Kirk Cousins. If this is like a Rams Lions situation, I definitely wouldn't give up Jimmy Garappolo and 2 first-rounders and a third-rounder. For Kirk Cousins, this is a completely different situation. The Niners are ready to win now, just like the Rams. However, they're not as desperate at quarterback position as Jared Goff in my opinion. And Kirk Cousins is not as big of an upgrade as Matt Stafford. So it's a complete different scenario that you can't compare. But to me, if the price is right, if they're willing to accept like a straight-up quarterback swap and maybe even throw in a third or fourth rounder for sure, but a first-rounder seems like a lot right now for Kirk Cousins just because I do think he's a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo. His accuracy might be a little bit better. His arm might be a little bit better. Mobility, neither is great, but I do think, the tangibles in his arm, Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback, QB vision as well. But a big thing is primetime games. Kirk Cousins is not great in at night and in any games that really matter. He did surprisingly upset the New Orleans Saints last year in the playoffs, but I don't know if that was all credited to him. Yes, he had an amazing pass in overtime. That is, of course, from him. But overall, I think the Vikings played a fantastic game, and Drew Brees and Saints did not play a great game. So, yes, he can win playoff games, but prime time and everything's on the line. I don't know if I'm going to rely and be happy with Kirk Cousins in the Super Bowl when he's facing a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Not to say Jimmy's the answer, but I'm just saying I think there are better options out there for the Niners. To be honest, no matter what the Niners do, my ideal situation is that the Vikings tell them, yeah, we'll take Jimmy and a first rounder. So the Niners now have Kirk Cousins and no first rounder, but the Vikings now have their own first round pick, the Niners first round pick, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Now you go talk to the Texans and tell Deshaun Watson, hey, we'll give you these 2 first rounders and Jimmy Garoppolo and these 2 X amount of players on the defense for Deshaun Watson. I think this is a great position to pivot the Vikings, setting up them in the position to get Deshaun Watson more than the 49ers. I'd love to see Kirk Cousins go to the Niners, and I'd love to see the Vikings pull off a blockbuster trade. I don't think Deshaun, that is the best spot for him, but I'd love to see it for the Vikings.
I agree with you. I think that Deshaun would be a better fit for this quarterback spot if you're looking for a major upgrade. I think that Kirk Cousins and Jimmy G are very similar. I think Kirk Cousins is making slightly more than Jimmy G. Might be on a little bit of a shorter contract. I think this is his 2021 is his last season on that contract. So they're only going to have him for a short while, and you're going to have to re-sign him. But I think that he is a slight upgrade, but I would not give up much more than a straight trade and maybe a late pick. I like your idea of gaining some capital and then going for Deshaun Watson. I think that he is a much better fit for this team. Jimmy G does just fine. I think that if you're going to stick with an above-average quarterback, you could go with Jimmy G or Kirk Cousins. I think it's very similar. I think Kirk may have some untapped potential if you give him the right quarterback coach, but I think that he's 32. He's done – you've seen what he has for the most part, in my opinion. So I think that I would much rather see him go after Watson than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think if I'm the Vikings, I want to pursue this. I want to pursue a different option than Kirk Cousins. We've seen the Vikings just kind of be stuck from the Minneapolis Miracle. I mean, that was Case Keenum, but just from there to last year, they lose to second round, probably the Niners.
It wasn't
Niners. They've just been kind of stuck with solid play, and it's not like you got nothing around. You got Thielen, you had Diggs, he's gone, but you've got Jefferson now. You've got Dalvin Cook in the backfield. The Vikings have the potential, so they just need another quarterback, a better quarterback. So whether they explore the option with Jimmy G or whatever the situation he just explained with Deshaun would be kind of best case scenario for him. But I just think Kirk is, if you get a chance to move off a quarterback with an opportunity like this, I think the Vikings take it because I don't think their future is with Kirk Cousins. Now, yes, he throws the ball pretty well, very well actually, but does not perform in prime time really. And if you want a quarterback that's going to take you into the playoffs, you need that factor. So if I'm the Vikings, I do pursue this. And then if I'm the Niners, for some reason I want to say they should also want Kirk Cousins. I think he throws the ball much better than Jimmy G. And we saw them go all the way to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G and kind of fall just short just because they didn't throw the ball quite well enough. I think Kirk Cousins could cover that gap. But, of course, the Niners' defense would have to be top of the league again for them to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you touched on something. Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins does have him in the backfield. So I think that once you give him to the 49ers, it's going to rely a lot more on his arm. And I don't know how it's going to do because he has had Dalvin Cook to rely on. If he's not performing well that game, you just give the ball to him. He's an animal, arguably top 2 running back in the league. So I don't know how well it's going to perform or how well it's going to turn out if he does not have that to rely on. Because, I mean, the 49ers' run game is not terrible, but it's nothing. It's nothing like Dalvin Cook. So it's really dependent, and that's a big factor of whether he can perform and take most of the load to the passing game rather than being able to rely on a run game.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to try and completely contradict that. The Vikings, their defense has been pretty well the past few years. However, they've kind of like regressed a little bit, and they've been having a bad defense, which has kind of forced Kirk Cousins to be in an Aaron Rodgers situation where they have to abandon the run game and then throw the ball deep and pass it a lot. And Dalvin Cook isn't useless, but they do have to cut back on his workload because they're down so many points. Kirk Cousins is forced to throw it through the air because of that defense being bad. But now I think he'll be in a complete different situation where his defense is restricting the other teams from getting several touchdowns, and he only has to get a 2-3 touchdown game. Yes, he has weaker receivers, and yes, he has a weaker backfield, but he also has a lot less to do, in my opinion, because his defense is so much stronger than the Vikings. Vikings used to be great, but they're nowhere near what the Niners are now, especially with Kyle Shanahan and the offense. I think that will be a great upgrade at coach to help him adjust versus who he's dealing with in Zimmer with the Vikings right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this before in several videos, but the past has shown a recipe for a Super Bowl team often includes a great defense with an average quarterback, which is exactly what the Niners would be with Cousins. So again, I just kind of to reiterate, I think the Vikings should pursue this one because they don't have much of a future with Cousins, and again, his gritty kind of sucks. We've all seen that.
I think it's awesome.
It's not very, I think it's cool, but it's not very good. And then the Niners, I think, could actually benefit from Cousins. I see Cousins and Jimmy G. I take Cousins all day.
Yeah. I think. I mean, they do have young guys developing. Mostert, when he is good, he's super hot.
Yeah.
And they have potential in Brandon Ayuk. He's emerging as well. And then, of course, if he's healthy, arguably Kittle is the best tight end in the league. We haven't had a safety blanket type of receiver. Kirk Cousins hasn't had a safety blanket type of receiver like Kittle just yet. So this could be the perfect formula.
For sure. All right, that's all for the video. Your 49ers franchise leading rusher is the one and only 49-year-old Frank Gore. He is your 49ers franchise leading rusher. Thanks for watching, guys. 2-minute warning.